Okay, it's live now. This is sort of the welcome to my office part of this particular talk. It's March 16th. It's 1:27 p.m. in the Pacific Northwest. So it's a nice sunny afternoon. We've had weeks of rain. I could actually go back and count my journal. We're talking weeks, standing water everywhere. As I say, this is kind of the welcome to my office component of this particular Wujo. I've moved all of my stuff from downstairs on the dining room where I'd done the previous videos up to my little office here. And I've got natural light sort of creeping in at the moment from the skylight. And I'll give you a little quick tour of the place I'll be doing until we can move, until things are relocated. Place I'll be doing all the videos from and all the video work. This behind me here is the workbench. This is a ceramic mask I made, probably year 2000. Made 3 of them. They're really quite nice. I've got the other 2 stashed down here. They stand up. One of them got broken. A little spin around. This is the Arduino bench and the development bench and the magnetics bench and workbench in general, frequently cleared off and covered with PCs, which are stacked all around in various different places. And a bunch of them I've turned off just so we don't have the noise that I usually operate under for the video. I'm going to have to keep shutting things down just to be able to have decent sound while I do these until I can get, as I say, relocated. I'm in a little narrow office space that's maybe, let's say, it's 10 by 12 maybe, so about the size of a prison cell. Only I've got far more gear than they would ever allow in a prison cell. It's just all over. So, but it's I'm in the peak of the house, so I'm going to pan up here. I'm trying not to make anybody sick. As you can see, there's no wall really. The full standing headroom is out here about the edge of the bench, which is why it's where it's situated where it is. And I've got various different things up on the various maps and large reference material. That's a very large map over there. My hats that I need at various times of the year. Quick turnaround over to the skylight, which has got its insulation in it, and yoga charts and that kind of thing. So you see, it's a narrow space. I'm going to bring it back around now, and we'll come back down to the mess that is the actual office area. Books stacked up all the hell and gone, electronics, transistors, resistors, thermistors. If there's a pisister, I've got it in here. I mean, I've been doing all kinds of weird stuff with the electronics and the Arduino and the Proa. I've been out working on the Proa this morning. We had semi-decent weather. The rain's down, so I was able to get out and with Kale, we're getting the wiring done and the final plumbing of the heater, and we're going to start running that, clear all the air out. It's been a damp winter, and get it all dried out and work on all of our hatches and all of our little fiddly bits while the last of the pieces are either curing on the resin or curing on the paint, and then we're going to finish up the rigging. And then we have 2 pieces that we have to manufacture, and then that's it. That reminds me, I got to make a note. Sorry about that. Need my box for the battery. Anyway, yeah, sorry about the light too. That bald head of mine is dangerous in full light. Anyway, so it's just a small space. As you can see, there's just not much. I'm afraid to take the camera around and face the screen because it's going to be too bright. But basically, it's just a little area for a single human and a couple of dogs. If the dogs don't get too big, and then the human gets pushed out, and unless I can shift some of the gear here. Anyway, so that's basically the welcome to my office part. Maybe I'll chop that 5 minutes out and this 5 minutes out and just have it available elsewhere. It is a nice day outside and the trees are gorgeous, but very sunny, and so probably likely to overdrive the camera here. The stuff I wanted to cover is really brief. It comes from this latest report. Give everybody a heads up as to what we're going to be looking at in these next few months. We're going to be maybe overwhelmed with information about weather, economics, and politics. And everything else beyond that will kind of fall to the wayside. But space will be something to pay attention to, even though it'll be in the background. And space relates to the shape of the Earth also, and where it is relative to the Sun. And so that will come up later in the year. But over the course of, let's say, now through, just say end of July, first part of August, we've got silver and gold going, and Bitcoin going up. Silver is showing still within the data sets is doing this limit up 3 times. So in a single day, this is the data I've got comes in as a scatter graph as it's advanced over time. And so I can't say what day it's likely to occur, but I can say that the range of dates that is most likely being indicated by the data is between the 21st and the 30th of March. And by this limit up business, what the data is talking about is that on the screwy paper trading market that they call the COMEX, the price of silver will jump up so high that everybody will freak out and stop its trading and try and get everybody to calm down. And they'll do that 3 times in a row because it'll jump maybe $1 each time, whatever their limit is. I don't know what their limit is on activity. I think maybe it's $1, but it'll happen 3 times in a day, and that's indicated to cause some real problems for the financial system. Like cost some banks somewhere vast quantities of money because they're promising people silver and they don't have it, so they're going to have to go get it, that kind of thing. Now, at the same time that that's happening, and this is basically from the end of March through to the first part of August, and we're describing what's going to happen here at the end of March relative to the data sets, or relative to the economy and how the data sets see the progression of the current economic trends through March and April, and then the slight change in April and then forward. And so over, let's see, so from end of March through April, we've got silver and gold and Bitcoin rising with a very steady level of emotional growth propelling that rise. And silver's going to go a limit up 3 times. Gold may also go limit up, but it wouldn't be 3 times. It's not indicated as going 3 times, but the limit subset within gold does have a lot of growth. Now, paper bonds, debts, sovereign debts are their own critter, but they're also in here, although not to the extent as to corporate debt, that kind of thing. And real estate are all indicated to take a big hit in the same period of time that gold and silver and Bitcoin are going up. The data sets are indicating that basically it's the same cause affecting each of them in an appropriate manner. So the paper debt stuff is being depreciated as real money is being appreciated. And in a longer sense, paper debt is showing as paper debt. By that I mean current paper currency, bonds, stocks, derivatives, anything based on the paper currencies and their abstractions, basically is what it comes down to. That is shown as emotionally stepping down over 2016 in a very serious way, and then continuing in a slightly less steep angle over 2017, such that by the time we reach 2018, the emotional attachment that we have to currency as money in the Western world is going to be really shattered. And by currency, I mean the paper currencies and or even the little digital blips on cards and stuff. You have to understand that there's an emotional abstraction that goes on for individuals that have never or who have grown up with no physical attachment to currency passing through their hands. You don't get the same kind of eye-brain response in dealing with handing over a card and pushing yes, no, and accept and that kind of thing, or swiping the card and etc. As you do when you actually have to count out bills. There's actually a different process that goes on in the brain. And so different sets of emotional values have formed, and there's a clear separation between the generations. It doesn't, I mean, by clear, I don't mean on a particular day, but I mean, you can easily separate people into two categories. In this particular instance, those people that have this emotional attachment to money and indeed even currency because they had to count it out, receive change back, etc., as opposed to those people that have dealt most of their lives, even on small purchases, doing it electronically. And so that emotional component for even the digital side of things are shown as being severely impacted over these next 2 years. That does not impact Bitcoin in a negative way. Because there's the millibits and decibits that are the smaller subsets of Bitcoins are showing as having their own emotional attachment forming between people that, or within people as they deal with the millibits and decibits. And sorry about that, ended up kicking the camera. And the Bitcoin, the whole Bitcoin is shown as escalating in value to the point where it's like international gold. So it ends up like a form of like digital gold for international settlements. And this may take 10 years for the Bitcoin to get to this particular point. But that's the path and the direction that's being sketched out for us in the descriptors within our long-term data. So we've got our bonds and our real estate and paper going down. Real estate's going to be a funny and a really interesting situation because it's showing that the economic situation here in taking the United States as the instance that I'm dealing with here, the economic situation is going to be such that a lot of the luxury end of things start crashing. So the data sets are showing that it'll take a lot longer to sell a high-end house in 2016 than a low-end house. You'll be harder pressed to rent a luxury villa than a medium middle-class villa for vacation rental, that kind of thing. So the all upper tier is going to be hit by the gulf that's been created in the economic system because there's nothing where the middle class used to be. And so the ability to support this upper tier is going to rapidly crumble, and you'll see that big chunks of the upper echelon in terms of current price value kind of stuff is going to fall simply because there's not enough underlying support. It's no longer a pyramid. And without that pyramid structure, the little tiny bit on the top can't sustain itself. That's basically what's going to occur. Now, as part of this, the data sets are showing as part of the real estate problem, as part of the bank problem, or as part of the bonds problem and part of the paper currency debt problems, there's a mid-tier bank problem that's going to appear over these next couple of months, March through April, that will then become really impacting to all of us over the course of summer. And that the mid-tier stuff is going to be banks that are going to fail, banks that are going to get into severe trouble to the point where they're always on the verge of failing. I'm not really sure what some of these data sets are referring to when they're describing these banks as basically continuously failing, just constantly on the verge of failing. It would seem to me that they would go bust or not, but they're describing the mid-tier banks as sort of barely hanging on, hardly able to do anything. They're just doors, and people can go in and go to work, that kind of thing, but not really effective institutions. And so the bank failures subset is rotating back around to affect real estate. And the real estate stuff is showing as pretty much crapping out, especially, as I say, in the high end over the rest of 2016 through 2017 completely. Especially in the hyper-developed areas where you've got all these outrageous evaluations on property based on foreign money. Now, a lot of that is going to be based on the currency war stuff that's going on at a higher level. It doesn't really matter how it all plays out in our particular areas. There's going to be, or in terms of the mechanism that it takes to reach our areas, but it's going to end up coming around to real estate all the way around the U.S., especially coastal real estate. Really going to hit it hard in terms of price failures or price reductions due to bank failures. This is also shown as impacting our political fracturing. So the data sets have the political fracturing really going crazy. Now that may mean that we get to this situation where there's a brokered convention and everything goes to hell because the brokering all falls apart. I don't know, but it's talking about further fracturing to where the main parties are basically in their last legs. They're in their death throes and won't last but maybe a few more years, and then they'll trail off and be institutions that are merely shadows of their former selves. Because an entirely new political structure is going to end up replacing them, basically, is what is going to happen. Now, over the course of this summer, the data sets are showing that the impact of the problems of late March, so this coming week, and through April economically are going to re-impact us in summer as our wonderfully stupid, amazingly doltish powers that be within our political power structure make certain decisions that cause us all a great deal of anguish and problems as those decisions are started to be implemented. And I say started because many of them are going to be yanked back as soon as they see the results, or they're going to fail in their implementation because people just won't go along with them. But nonetheless, the impact of this is going to be really horrific at many levels. So we're seeing drug shortages show up, which in their turn are describing a situation where so many law enforcement people, and I'm not picking on law enforcement people per se, but I'm saying so many law enforcement people who are former military who are still using steroids and these other drugs that were provided by the military, they're going to go a little crazy, as are a lot of the military people, because drug shortages are going to impact them. The drugs are showing up here as being at the high end, as the government kind of sanctioned sort of stuff, and we're going to run into problems, and it's going to translate to a lot of these guys going a little wacky just because they don't have their meds to maintain that even strain. And so we're going to have to watch out for that. So bad decisions all through summer. Do not expect people in authority, especially in the first point of contact with potentially conflicting authority. Don't assume they will be making rational decisions. Check them out and see if they're all there before you make any decision as to how to react with these people, because a lot of them are going to be experiencing some really difficult mental strain. And it doesn't do you any good if they misinterpret your actions. Over summer, we're going to get this just-in-time stuff. So we're looking at May, June, and July. It'll really ramp up according to the data sets as the government decides it's also going to ramp up, or not the government, the Federal Reserve nutters. What do they call them? Mother Felon. As Mother Felon decides to ramp up more digital dollars and mucky about with rates and that kind of stuff, the data is describing the just-in-time delivery system as hardening, like the hardening of the arteries, only fairly quick. And the transport failures and the failure of transport companies is something that starts occurring in March and April. And so you'll see the impact of these transport companies, and I don't know how it relates to low energy cost. You would think that would be good for them, but nonetheless, there's low demand also. And so you're going to start seeing information about mothballing of large fleets of trucks, that kind of thing. Not a good sign. Those trucks are the stuff that haul the stuff that ends up on the store shelves that you buy to take home to put with all your other stuff. So, these stuff haulers, we need these guys. Some of this stuff is decent. It's good. We want it. Anyway, so just bear that in mind. Start looking for local sources if you start seeing shortages. We're already seeing some of the shortages here in our major stores, and we're seeing this next item here already in our local environment, and that is this larger regional or regional tier shakeup of companies, to where you'll have grocery store chains buying each other out one after the other, sort of not cannibalizing, but well, basically cannibalizing each other as the companies try and stay afloat. And what's going on in the background is this giant credit squeeze and the huge lack of demand and the lack of liquidity and the lack of currency and money flowing through the system, and the fact that the system is basically rot at its core because the paper is a promissory note extracted from the future that expands growth and everything now at the expense of the future, and we're at that future that has that expense extracted from it. So here we are dirt poor because we enjoyed all of the stuff 20 years ago, and so now we have to pay for it, and there is nothing there to pay with. So we're going to get this big crashing system. So that's this mid-tier level of corporate stuff. So you may see, you know, plumbing companies consolidating, one plumbing company after another starting to go bust, getting bought out. We're seeing it here with grocery stores, with marijuana dispensaries that you'd think you'd be able to sell marijuana, but you know, even at the dispensary level, there's so many problems, and they're all starting to crap out, and so trying to consolidate. And so one's buying out another, and 2 weeks later it gets bought out. So it just, and on it goes. Anyway, so transportation, calcification of the artery system and the just-in-time system across all of the Western world. That part is not limited to the North America or U.S. It's going to extend to into Europe. It's going to extend into Japan. Won't affect China so much. As a point of origin, it'll affect them in a different way. They'll still have the goods, but they're going a different direction. Okay, so I got to get through with this. I got to get a cup of tea and eat the rest of my pizza. I've been out working on the boat. It's been a long day. The weather. Weather, especially for northern hemisphere, but I'm just going to drill in on North America. We're going to get floods and rivers doing strange stuff, overflowing, turning into lakes and big bulgy near inland seas. You're going to start seeing pictures of boats in strange places as people start taking advantage of the fact that there's just water everywhere and they put their boat out there. The bad part is it's going to overwhelm nuke plants. It's going to, you know, overwhelm their drainage ability, clog up their intakes, cause all kinds of problems, and potentially lead to a really nasty situation where a nuke plant goes run amok here in North America somewhere, and there's a big scattering of the people as they say, uh-oh, and evac like hell to get out of there. We still have that in the data, and it's still growing. In terms of our ratio of long-term data to short-term data to immediacy data, there's not enough change in there for me to be able to say that it would for sure happen this year, but I suspect it'll happen before 2019, and it wouldn't surprise me if it happened this year. I actually think it's much more probable to occur in midsummer 2017, probably around August, sometime say between first part of July and the end of August, in that 2-month window, because I suspect we're going to get a really big ass earthquake that may trigger maybe so big that it causes problems with Mount Rainier, and may also cause problems with New Madrid. We have certain data sets that have that sort of scenario coming in, and if there's all long-term data because we're so far out, so not yet trustworthy at all. But the data keeps piling in on that side. It keeps showing up at a steady rate for that kind of a scenario. If that's going to occur, there's specific temporal markers along the way. So as we progress along between now and the end of 2000, or that period of time, near the end of summer 2017, I should be able to get certain temporal markers that say, yep, you know, these are all within that set, or, oh, great, we're out of there, you know, that we're starting to diverge in terms of where that set of data is going. Anyway, though, right at the moment, as I say, we've got floods, rivers, and leaking nuke plants, and not to be minimized, but a wild series of storms and super excessive rain. And the rain is going to be episodic and not really plottable as to where you're going to end up with it. So I'm not able to say that, you know, it's going to be specifically in this area, because we've got geographic indicators of rain abnormalities in a lot of areas of North America. The rain abnormalities are the kind of thing we've been through, where we've had days and well, weeks now of rain so steady that we've broken all records locally. And every time you turn around, you're breaking a new record day to day to day, because you've just surmounted them all. And you know, and then rains and storms some more. We had more of these sets of descriptors for the U.S., especially parts of Florida, where the descriptors are of these storms that are going to show up in theoretically, or not theoretically, in forecast to show up in late July through August and into September, and they'll sort of skip across the panhandle part, or the sticky outy part of Florida there, jump across Florida, and in a manner that is not usually seen. Usually the storms go up the coast more or head inland diagonally. These are described as being a band of popcorn storms, it's called in the data, that do some damage, and they go scooting across well, it's a little bulgy bit down there. I don't know what, probably Boca Raton, I guess, in that area, but I don't know. I'm just guessing. I think I know where Boca Raton is. I don't know Florida that well. Anyway, it's going to potentially cause some damage down there. So that's been in the data sets for a while. I guess that's about it at the moment. Pizza's calling. I've got to go get the water hot and then get back to work on the boat. And I've got to start doing some lexicon tuning and get at some database stuff. So this is a quick little, hopefully it was quick, I don't know. I'm going to have to talk here. 25 minutes, that's not too bad. Sort of a welcome to my office, and here's where we're at. As we go through in this next one, I'll probably try and get another video done, hopefully before the end of March. We're really up to our necks in gators these days, so busy around here. But things, once we get a few of these major projects finished, then things are going to slack off and we'll be into much more video work. And the sun's moving around now anyway. So that's it, guys. I'm going to shut this thing off. Hopefully got what I wanted out of this. And let me tilt that a little bit. There we go. Just so I can see what the hell I'm doing there. Okay. Talk to you guys later.